Hey guys, how's it going? How's it going? So I was scrolling through the channel, um, looking at old stuff that I've posted on the channel before. Sponsored by Pepsi, like I'm Madam Web. No, I'm just kidding. And I was like, I haven't done a ranking video in a while. And I've mostly done them on horror franchises. I have a Scream ranking, I have a Friday the 13th, and Nightmare on Elm Street ranking on here. Someday I'll have a Halloween ranking. We and my friend Josh did one many years ago, and then it was Zoom, and it got fucked up, and we weren't able to upload it, so I may just do my own at some point. I'm not going to do that today, just because I'm prepared for something else. Or maybe I'll do it after this. Who knows? Maybe I will. But I was like, I've never ranked the Final Destination movies. And with a new one coming out sometime in the near future, which I've heard is, supposed to possibly have first responders in it, which I think is a neat way to do it. I thought I would revisit the Final Destination franchise. So let me talk about my history with this franchise for a minute. Very deep and important. Not really. But no, I remember I saw the first one right before I was getting on a plane to go to Florida to work at Walt Disney World, because I worked there through a summer program, college program, that my friend Christy had done the previous year. And yeah, so I was getting ready to go on a plane, and I'm like, or was it? No, I'm trying to think if it was going down to visit her or what it was. I can't remember exactly. I think it came out in 2000, right? So yeah, no, that would have been when I was going. Okay, so I had been on a plane before that. But anyway, it was one of the first times I was flying, but I was flying by myself. I'd flown with Christy's mom the year before, so yeah, it would have been by myself. And then that opening scene with the plane exploding, oh. This makes me very comfortable getting on a plane and going to Florida tomorrow. Luckily, as you can see, I survived. But I just remember that was just a big moment. I was like, oh, well, shit. But yeah, I remember I really liked the movie. And then there were sequels. So yeah, there are 5 movies currently in the Final Destination franchise. Because everything's got to be a franchise, especially in horror. Everyone has to have a franchise, no matter what. No matter what. This can't be one good movie and let it be. Not in Hollywood where we have to make money and it's a business, by God. So anyway, just to get down to brass tacks here, they made 5 movies. They're making a 6th one soon. Or reboot or whatever the hell it is. Who knows? I also say they're rebooting My Bloody Valentine again. Which the only thing I'll give credence to that is I did like the recent one with Jensen Ackles. I thought it was pretty good. I actually liked it better than the original. But I feel like at least it's one of those franchises that doesn't have 100 sequels, so it doesn't feel like you're really treading on, bad territory. But like if they wanted to set up as a franchise and make, because I don't think I ever made a sequel to the original, honestly. So that's one of those I'm like, okay, that's one of those, like, it's not like they're just doing, here's Halloween again, or here's this again. So, some fresh territory. Anyway, on to the ranking video so I can stop rambling on about other shit. I will go from 5 to 1 and give my reasons for such. So, number 5 on my list would definitely be the Final Destination, or Final Destination 4, if you will. This is where I feel like it really started to come off the rails. This one, the last 2 were in 3D, which, you can take or leave, but it was another one of those times when 3D was they were really big on the 3D. And sometimes it was cool, and sometimes, like Avatar or something like that, and then sometimes it was just like, well, this was unnecessary and totally a gimmick. Why did we do this? But anyway, I just feel like there are some decent kills in it. I mean, kills. It's not really a slasher totally because it's not an actual person killing them. But like, it just feels like the opening moment with the NASCAR thing. Now, I did read that most of the kills or deaths in this, I guess we could say, are based off of real life things. And I understand that, some of these, like the pool thing was kind of weird. But like, it's happened in real life and so with that. But like the whole, I don't know, the NASCAR thing or whatever, where it's just like, it's going all the way into it just felt kind of like, well, this is kind of reaching. Like, it's like, okay, I can understand a train accident or derailment. I can understand a boat, but like, it just felt like, well, we're at the NASCAR track, and then these cars fly into the thing, and it just felt like it was really campy too. I mean, they were always kind of a little campy, but it just got to a kind of a campy level of death, and it was just like, now I'm just laughing at how ridiculous that death was, as opposed to being like, holy shit, it's fakes as a death, more stupid ways to die, as the series does. But yeah, so I don't know, the main characters just didn't interest me that much, and I just like, and was that, this is the one that had the racist character, right? Yeah, I'm just like, you had, the guy Bubba Gump in there, from Forrest Gump, and Michael T. Williamson. I liked his character. He was about the best character, and he tried to kill himself and all that sort of stuff, and which I thought was clever, but like, it just, yeah, and the main characters, I was just like, yeah, and then just got the big CGI death. The escalator was kind of cool, but like, yeah, and then the whole movie theater catching on fire, that was weird. But it just felt like it was like really like stagey and gimmicky. It's kind of like how the Saw movies kind of got after a while, where it just kind of became, put a twist in there and let's make as ridiculous as traps as ever, and it just kind of fell off the rails here. So that would be my number 5 ranking on that one. So number 4, I'm gonna go with Final Destination 3. Now, I'll give credit to this one in that the roller coaster thing, that's definitely something that has happened, a good amount of roller coasters, causing death and things like that. So, because let me tell you, when I was a kid, man, I was scared as hell as going on roller coasters. Like, even like little ones that weren't that bad. I was like, no, I don't want to go. I grew out of that. I like them now. I haven't been on one in a while, but, we don't have a lot of amusement parks in Washington, so we just have like Wild Waves and then I guess Wolf Lodge down south. But there's not a lot of amusement parks here. It's unacceptable, Washington. Get on it. But I used to go to Cedar Point when I was living in Indiana, and then went to drive to Ohio and stuff, and Kings Island and things like that, and of course Disney World. But yeah, no, I like that being the setup for the thing. And Mary Elizabeth Winstead was the main star of that one before she kind of hit it, bigger and stuff. And yeah, it's a solid film. There's some decent deaths in there. I kind of like the goth kid a little bit, but then he, sort of turns kind of an asshole after his girlfriend gets killed. But yeah, there was some ridiculous parts of that too. But I did feel even at this point that we were kind of getting a little. It was already starting to a little bit come off the rails with some stuff. Some of the deaths were kind of like, well, that was interesting. You're like, was that really realistic? Although I will say that, like, when I'm ever at work, doing my overnight job, like, whenever I come across, like a section where they have, like, metal things that you hang things and all that, but there's just, like, a whole bunch of metal, I'm just like, this is Final Destination waiting to happen. I just slip on something and my face goes right into it, or, it's always, like, nightmare scenario. But yeah, so yeah, it's decent. And the train derailment with the subway thing at the end is a pretty decent ending and stuff. Because it's interesting because, like Final Destination 2, when that happened, obviously spoilers if you haven't seen any of the Final Destination movies, you should probably have clicked off already. Yeah, but like 2 is the only one where like some people like, you think their characters survived, but then you get this little newspaper clipping where it's like, no, they died like this. And it's like, well, what the hell? So it's like, it's interesting, the whole cheating death idea is very interesting. But yeah, so 3 would be my number 4. It's decent. It's still pretty watchable. And I like some of the deaths in there and stuff. And some of the characters. That guy gets his head smashed by the weight thing. That's like, goddamn. But anyway, so I'd say that would be my number 4. Number 3 would be Final Destination 5, which was like, after they did the talking words are hard. Final Destination, they came up with Final Destination 5, and you're just like, but we did the Final Destination. It's kind of like, this is the final Friday, or is it? Here's Jason X. Anyway, it's finality is never true in horror movies. It's just eventually you're going to get another one. But yeah, this one was interesting in the fact that it had like a bridge collapse, and it also has what's his face from Anchorman, the sports guy, David. Fuck, what's it? Why am I blanking on names? I can look it up on my phone. The power of Google. Yeah, he played Champ in Anchorman. He's a comedian. David Ketchner, that's what it said. I didn't have to look it up now. David Ketchner, yeah. Sorry, I'm like, brain. Brain falling out of my head. I'm having a Final Destination moment. Anyway, yeah, David Ketchner plays the boss, and then like, yeah, the characters are much more interesting. It's funny. There's a guy in there that he actually played Tom Cruise in the superhero movie, the parody movie, the one like I can see, I can fly. He can't fly, and then he can't actually fly. So I just remember him briefly from that. But yeah, they also have the interesting idea in this of someone replacing someone in death's pattern, which was a new idea, which I did actually like. So you have a character that is like thinking like, I need to kill someone who isn't going to die in this pattern. Oh, and that one with the girl when she's like the gymnastic and she just like, and you have all these like teases of, oh, this is how she's getting it, and then she has to just like breaking her fucking neck. It's like, well, that was interesting. Or the guy getting the pin stuck in him and all that. Yeah, the whole weird dentist scene, was that 4 or 5? I'm trying to remember which, but like the whole weird dentist scene where you whole think it's going to be one thing and it ends up being another thing. Or and the girl with the eye surgery thing. Yeah, that one. That got to me just because it was like, yeah, I don't want it. It's a laser coming at my eye. Yeah, it gives me the willies. Basically, like I've told Anna this before, I said that for me, I can never watch the remake of The Fly with Jeff Goldblum because when he peels off his front of his fingernails, like that's my nightmare for myself. Like if it's just like suddenly peeled off, I would just like probably drop dead. Just like and then things going in eyes, like you know, I wear contacts occasionally, and I had to get used to that. Finger coming at your eye. So yeah, it was a little unnerving that way. But I've got the eyes I can deal more with than like the finger or toenails being clipped off, because that's just like, God, it's just something. The covering here, you know, that's just stay on. Should always stay on. If you want to gross me out for anything, I can take guts and all that. That's fine, but just no fingernail noise. It drives me so. But yeah, no, I thought it was decent, and then you have the nice twist ending that this was actually a prequel because they go on the flight from the first one. So I thought that was a nice little, you know, twist at the end. Yeah, so there were some good ideas in there. And it was a nice way to wrap it up, having sort of a nice, you thought this was a sequel, but it's not. Yeah, so that was interesting. And then you end up, of course, the reason she survived the bridge accident was because she dies on this plane. So it's just like, yay! But yeah, I thought they did the 3D thing, but it wasn't too bad. So yeah, now that's my number 3. So number 2, this is a tough one because the first two movies, because they're both actually pretty good. But I'm gonna go with Final Destination 2 as my number 2. How weird. But I will say the one thing that would give it a jump over the first one is that opening scene, because like many people have said with the meme, anytime you're driving behind a truck with logs in it and I'm moving over next lane, I do that myself. It's just like, it's like that one sticks with me more than even the plane blowing up, because it's just like, because at least, you know, I can, if I don't take a plane, I can drive, I can take a train, whatever the case. But if you're stuck behind the fucking log thing and you're just like waiting for that log to just go right through your windshield, you know, so I will say a very effective, because big car accidents like that are scary. Like I was recently in a 4-mile backup, and it was because a semi had like literally just caught on fire, and I just remembered as I finally got past it after the long drive, I just saw it and it was just charred, and I'm just like, oh my God, like all I could think of was like the guy driving this is either burnt to a like really bad 33-degree burns, or he's possibly gone, and that was just tragic. I was really annoyed being stuck behind this big 4-mile backup, but at the same time, just like, man, fuck. I'm not having such a bad day compared to this poor person that was in this thing, but like, so yeah, I think in general, car accidents really, can get to you. So I don't know. It makes it almost edges it for me. But I think they did some good ideas in this one. I'll give my reasons for number one in a minute, but why I liked it a little bit more. But like, I think they did some good ideas in this where they were kind of like how, cheating to death, or like, what if I die and come back? I thought there were some good angles there. And then even like having someone who saves someone, and then because they save that person from getting hit by a truck, that kid dies later. That was a neat twist. And they still had, what's her name? Claire. Claire was back, but she had locked herself in basically like almost an asylum or whatever, just to be in a room that wasn't any danger. Because it's funny because Devon Sawa's character didn't come back. I think he originally was supposed to come back. And then it ended up working out for reasons. And so he just like got hit, a brick dropped on his head. I'm like, what the fuck? It's like, well, we got to explain it somehow. So, now what's great about these movies too is that Tony Todd appears throughout them. He's sort of like he's a coroner. He's not sort of a coroner. He's a coroner, but he kind of gives the, ominous that he's almost death himself, which I've always kind of played along with. He's not in all of them, but I think he's at least in the first two, and he's in 5 for sure. And I don't remember him being in 3 or 4. I don't believe he was in those ones, but that obviously makes it cool too, because Tony Todd, it's Candyman, amongst many other roles of awesomeness. But yeah, I do like. There's a lot of good deaths in this one. The characters are pretty good. A couple of actors I recognize here and there, like, oh, I've seen them in this and this and this. Yeah, but that opening traffic accident, holy shit, that sticks with you. That's like a nightmare scenario whenever you're driving on a highway. Like this is just gonna go bad, and I've lost friends to accidents like that, and it's just tragic stuff. So that would be my number 2. And then we go to number 1, which will be Final Destination, the first one. The one that originated it all. I like this one just because I feel like, I like Devon Sawa's character in there. I like the girl who plays Claire, whose name, Ali Larder? Yeah. Kerr Smith, who was on Dawson's Creek. Yes, I watched that show. I did. And yeah, so there was, I liked a lot of the characters in that. There's Nine Inch Nails music in there at one point, which was actually the Final Destination. So, yeah, and like I said, just for the emotional scarring of the plane blowing up when I was going to fly the next day. But there's some good deaths in this. And you have Sean William Scott in there, Stifford's in there. Like, there's a lot more of, like, somewhat well-known actors in there. And that doesn't mean that the movie's better than other ones. Like I said, it's pretty close between the two. But I think I really enjoyed the first one a lot. And I feel like it's, the first two I think have the most rewatch value for me, I think, in terms of Final Destination movies. Just because I think that's, Final Destination is how it started, and with the whole seeing, the future, and this thing's got to go bad, and we got to get these people off this thing, and it is interesting how, like, the death takes a pattern, is interesting and kind of a creepy feeling, because it's not just some slasher guy coming at you and trying to hack you up. It's literally like death itself. And so yeah, I enjoyed it. I think they're fun movies. They do get a little gimmicky towards, fourth and fifth, third one a little bit. But it's kind of like my friend's guilty pleasures of the Saw movies. Like he'll watch all of them. He went and saw the new one. I personally, after the third one, was just like, okay, I'm done. Like I'd seen what I needed to see. It's like, okay, the first one was good, and the second one, I liked the second one. Okay, the third one, I started getting off the rails, but and after that, it's just like, okay, the character's dead. This is done, right? Now there's there's another apprentice. No, there's not. Just stop. And then they had the tendency, just like this movies, to get super gimmicky, where it's like, what about the traps? Let's make a ridiculous trap. Yay! People will pay. No one will care. Let's do it. They did have a good strategy with Saw, though, how they would, release them during Halloween. I thought that was smart strategy, of course. But I kind of got out of the Saw movies after the third one. I just don't care. But yeah, Final Destination, I'll definitely look forward to Final Destination 6, especially if they go with that first responders idea. I think it's an interesting take on it. And I hope they come up with some unique deaths and stuff. So yeah, so that is my Final Destination ranking video, guys. Just a short and sweet 20-minute video. At some point, I'll do a Halloween one by myself and go over those. I just remember how I ranked them the first time. I was like, there's so many Halloween movies. And if you want to see me making pitches to all the sequels of Halloween and how I would have followed up with the sequel, that is on the channel as well. I did that with Friday the 13th. I did that with Scream. I did that with Nightmare on Elm Street as well. I started doing it with Candyman, but I haven't actually gone back and watched the other Candyman sequels. The second one's okay. Third one is really bad. And then we had the remake or follow-up sequel, which is decent. But I still love the first one the most. But yeah, that is what I will say on that. I may eventually watch those. I just have to, but I'd have to rent them from YouTube or something, I guess, in order to watch them. And I'm like, do I want to spend the money to watch Candyman 3? Probably not. So yeah, that is my ranking video for Final Destination. I might be back with some other videos later. I've decided, I'm going through the channels and thinking, well, there's that Venomverse thing I was going with, which I've been hearing some things about Venom 3 that I'm just like, have we not learned from Madam Web? Yeah, that movie is bad. Anyway, thanks for watching, guys, and keep on subscribing.